Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
This is Vernon Oakes, and we have John Torres on the phone with us today. He's from NCBA CLUSA, and we're talking about the impact of cooperatives. Co-op Impact Conference is going on right now in Virginia. National Cooperative Business Association is having this Impact Conference right now. So let's talk about what NCB is doing.
Our mission is to advance, to protect, and to promote the cooperative business model. And so that's the basics of our mission, and that gets expressed in a number of different ways. But, in a nutshell itself, we are here to make sure that we create an environment that a legislative environment, a policy environment, and a public environment where cooperatives are seen as the best solution to some of today's larger problems and larger issues, challenges.
So you said that you're there to help people to grow and develop. Are you talking about everybody? Are you talking about the 1%ers, those that already have a lot of money? Or are you talking about any specific gender or race? Or what do you mean people?
Yeah, no, we're talking about everyone, absolutely everyone. Everyone should have the opportunity there to have a say in their future. And through the cooperative business model, they have that ability. They have that purpose and that drive to be able to give that, to be able to provide that space for themselves where they own the products they use, the say in how that organization is run, and the values that are adhered to by those different businesses. And so that goes through every walk of life, every demographic. Cooperatives are one of those things that can be implemented in pretty much any case. And so it's a model and an environment that's open to everyone, and it's there to benefit those folks that use it and to benefit the communities and families. And so I think it's actually the way of the future here.
Well, let me get a plug in for everybody out there. When I talked about what people you're talking about, for me in Washington, too often you get politicians that say we're for the people. Mm-hmm. And I used to, looking at what they vote for, going, what people are you for? And too often the politics, the tax bill and everything is for those that already have. So please go vote.
That's right.
This next election in November is perhaps more important than a presidential election, and most people sleep this out. I used to. But at the state level and at the regional level, the county level, the city level, that's where a lot of things happen. Okay. And we talked about that last week with the different cities that are creating environments that create wealth, like Richmond, Madison, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Had Stacy Sutton on last week, John. If you didn't hear it, go on everything.coop and listen. She was wonderful doing research on which cities are really creating environments that you just talked about where people can create their own wealth and social and financial wealth. And like you said, have a say in what they do and how they do it. And if there's profit, what they do with that profit.
That's right. Yeah. And it also, it's important to get out there and vote for a whole number of reasons, but also to look at the platforms that these folks are on and really dive in to see are they friendly to cooperatives? Do they have a mindset that is community oriented? We work a lot here at NCBA CLUSA. We work a lot here with folks on the Hill, with policymakers and legislators, in order to create that environment. And the only way we're able to work with people who are like-minded like that is if they're elected into office. And so we want to make sure that the folks that are listening to your show, your listeners there, if they have the same feelings that we do about the importance of ownership and the importance of the future of work, that they look at the candidates that are there and they do make that effort and go out and vote. So, yeah, excellent plug there, Vernon. That's great.
Gotta vote.
That's right.
And co-ops are democratically controlled. One member, one vote.
That's right.
It's interesting to me that in a co-op, you really learn how to participate and vote more so than we teach. I was taught, at least. I wasn't taught this, how you get out and really participate in decision making and in our community and get out and vote and get people to go vote. So, just real quickly, there are 4 basic types of co-ops. There's the co-op depends on who owns and controls the business. If it's owned and controlled by the employees, it's called a worker cooperative. If it's owned and controlled by the people that uses the products and services, it's a consumer cooperative, and that's credit unions, housing co-ops. And if you get a co-op, a lot of farmers and artists are beginning to use this type is when folks get together to purchase. They buy more, they buy in volume, and they can get a lower price and more often a better quality because they get experience and get people experience in buying things. So purchasing co-ops. And then you have marketing co-ops. Marketing co-ops, some people call them producer co-ops. They come together and farmers, they put in their products, their milk or whatever, cranberries, and the marketing co-ops processes those products, and then they sell them and take them to different markets that the farmer couldn't take them to. And I've had a couple artists, a group of artists on the show that they'll come together and create a warehouse where they can create things, or if they're musicians, they can practice, and then they have a storefront where they can sell their things. So different people are beginning to use co-ops, and it can fit, to me, any business you can have. Food co-ops is one example. It could be a consumer co-op or an employee co-op or some hybrid of both. But any business you can have could be a co-op, is my sense. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And actually, we're seeing a lot of folks who have family-run businesses and family-owned businesses that they've had in the family for years. They're looking to retire. They're looking to pass that business along, and they're turning to employees, the workers that have worked in that organization, in that company for 25, 30, 40 years. Give them the opportunity then to actually own the business. And that helps them out as they're trying to maintain the values of that business and trying to keep the business local rather than selling to a larger organization. And it also benefits those individual employees that are then able to own that. So cooperatives, again, just like you said, Vern, cooperatives can be used in so many different ways to stabilize the economy, to stabilize local communities. And so, again, it's a great model, and more people are hearing about it, more people are learning about it, and I think we are starting to see an uptick here in the use of cooperatives.
So the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives said that, I can't remember the number, it was either 40 or 60% of the new worker co-ops are people of color, brown and black folk.
Wow.
It was some large number, can't remember the exact number, but it's like more people of color like in these cities are beginning to use co-ops. I love this quote, John. Dame Pauline Green said, co-ops help people to come out of poverty with dignity.
That's right.
Got a lot of education and knowledge.
Yeah, they provide that access, an opportunity for folks who may not have that available to them, and so co-ops are really a strong model, a strong way to really lift folks out of poverty and to get them on a track. And it's done all on their own. It's something that they can do for themselves with their surrounding community. And so, again, it's a great model.
John, this model helps so many different people, and I've been able to crisscross across the country and talk to folks, whether they are farmers or artists or engineers, anything that people really like this co-op model. And just a commercial time here is that tomorrow, Ron Hance and his group is having a conference up in Baltimore. It's called A Role of Cooperatives in Reshaping Communities. Okay, it's going to be at the Living Well at 235 Holiday Street from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock tomorrow in Baltimore, bringing together, have 3 or 4 people on the panel, and I'll be moderating that panel, and I'm looking forward to it, of somebody from Philly and Chicago just coming in and talking about, again, what cities are doing, what individuals can do to really reshape communities where the people in the communities are the ones that's benefiting when something. And I thought about this with Flint. If the people in Flint could have started their own plumbing companies and co-ops, and then they solve their problems, and they also make the money of solving the problem. Okay, which is great. We're going to take our first break, and we got to come back. And I knew there's so much we could talk about, but when we come back, I really want to talk about the impact, the co-op impact conference that you have coming up. But we'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOL at 95.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and we have John Torres on the phone with us today. He's from NCBA CLUSA. But, this program is sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, and NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. And we were just talking about communities, and that's what NCB is doing. So let's talk about this impact.
Yes, the Impact Conference. Yeah, this is the second year we're doing the Impact Conference, and the purpose of this conference is to really galvanize the information, the data, the social impact that cooperatives are having in communities around the country, and also to get a glimpse of what's going on with cooperative work around the world. And so this conference takes place here, actually just across the river in Arlington, Virginia. They're at the Sheraton Pentagon City. As you mentioned earlier, it's October 3 through 5. And there are a number of tracks. There's a track for purchasing cooperatives. There's a track for professionals, which are accountants and attorneys. There are 2 impact tracks, both with information stemming from worker cooperatives to building participation. And these are all geared toward really showing the impact that cooperatives have.
What is the impact of cooperatives in the U.S. economy?
Well, I tell you, a lot of folks don't know this, but and your listeners may, because they're very well educated and plugged in a group of folks. But cooperatives have more than $800 billion in assets, and they employ 10 million employee owners. There are 3 million more individuals that are members. And so cooperatives have a long history of solving local and regional economic issues. And by solving those issues, that is where the impact is. Cooperatives have more than 120 million members currently. And, a lot of those members do come from the credit union space. And so they're impacting the communities in a great many different ways.
That first week I was telling you about, first month that we had the program 5 years ago, October, this gentleman was on. His name is Papa Sin from Senegal, because he works for NCBA CLUSA.
Yes, I know Pop very well, yeah.
He said that co-ops solve community problems. If a community has no problems, there's no need for a co-op. And I remember that because he was so straight. Matter of fact, I had him on twice that first year. And I've threatened to go to Senegal to visit him. I'm going to get that done here. I would love to get that done soon.
That'll be a great trip. You should really go. It'd be great.
So the huge impact that co-ops have, even more so than in the numbers, is how it impacts a community, social community, and how people get to be like this dignity that Dame Pauline Green was talking about, the self-respect, self-control. And I like the first value talk about self-responsibility of co-ops, being responsible for self and solving problems yourself, not looking for a handout, maybe a hand up in technical assistance or money perhaps to help get started. But when it comes time, the self-help, that was the first, self-help, then self-responsibility. And I like that a lot, to help people and communities solve their problems. So that's the impact.
Yeah.
Billions of dollars in assets and millions of people in co-op and millions of dollars. When co-ops make money, what do they do with it? I have a sense of an answer, but I'd like to hear what you say.
Sure. Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of cooperative work. So the co-op exists for the people that use those products and services, and so if the co-op makes money, then that money it's determined by the owners, whether they're worker owners or whether they're members. It's determined by them what they do with that profit, what they do with that money, and so they give a portion of that back to the members. So the members do see a kind of a patronage back from the profits that are made. They also get to determine where that money is going to be put, whether it's for improvements for the business, whether it is to do certain programs. So there is so much more investment that individuals have when they work with a co-op and they're a part of a co-op. There's so much more control that they have over where that money is going. So that's a really good question. A lot of folks don't know that. But if any of your listeners are members of REI Co-op, at the end of the year, they more than likely receive a dividend check or a patronage check back to them for some of the monies on the services that they've used or products that they've purchased. And so that's part of what that is. You own the business, so you do receive some benefit from that in a financial sense. Cooperatives is an amazing business model that really directly benefits the people that use those products and services.
So REI, we've had them on once. I want to get them back on. For those of you that don't know, is recreation equipment. They have millions and it's a consumer co-op. So the people that buy in REI owns the business. That's right. And they have a superstore here in D.C. that they opened several years ago, not 2 or 3 years ago. And I had the opportunity to go to a store in Seattle that's huge, in Seattle, Washington. But it was started by, was it a couple that started it, or people did not have the climbing gear and they had to go to the UK, I think is where it was, to buy the kinds of equipment they needed to climb mountains.
That's right.
Okay, and so they couldn't do it, so they said, we'll start our own company.
Isn't that great?
We'll solve that problem.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's what you hear with cooperatives, is that they solve community needs. These folks got together and needed some equipment, and they pooled their resources and got more members to be involved in that, and then were able to source that equipment themselves. I know we talk about the different retail stores and others, and some of the brands that some of your listeners may know, and some of the household brands like Ocean Spray and Welch's and Sunkist and other food products that they use are all sourced through cooperatives.
Cabot cheese.
Cabot cheese. Cabot cheese is another fantastic. And a number of those are all farmer owned. These are farmers that are a part of the cooperative, and so it's really impressive to see that this is a very clear example of how cooperatives are solving a community need and really helping to galvanize communities together. Back in the 1930s, when there was the expansion west, 90% of the farm families there did not have access to reliable electricity, where in the urban areas it was more like 10%. And cooperatives helped flip that statistic around, where electric cooperatives were formed by those communities coming together and saying, we need these power lines and we need poles and we need all of these things in order to be able to get electricity there. So we're going to form this cooperative and we're going to push electricity out to our farmlands. And now it's the complete reverse, where over 90% of those rural areas have access to reliable electricity. And now they're using that opportunity to see what the next iteration of that, what is the next thing that cooperative can bring. And I know that there's a number of electric co-ops, and all through the support of the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, and looking at the next iteration. Next iteration is broadband technology, getting broadband services, high-speed internet services out to those rural areas, and they're using the network that they've built through the electric cooperatives to be able to provide that service. And so here's a model, a business that was started to solve a particular need, and then over time it has evolved and changed and continues to meet the needs of those communities that it serves. So I don't know how people cannot get excited about the cooperative and cooperative businesses and how they work. They truly are one of the great business models.
I get excited about it. I've come to love it. Now, just real quickly, I want to go back to REI because one of the things I've learned that they do, which is phenomenal with their profits. And by the way, the members, whoever the owners of it, they decide what to do with the profits. So they do give dividends out, patronage out every year. But finish that story, and we'll get back to the co-op impact. We'll be right back.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOS and 95.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. We're talking about co-ops and the benefits of co-op, and there is a co-op impact conference coming up on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of October. And October is co-op month, and October the 7th is when I was born. So I'll be able to be at the festival on the mall on my birthday and celebrate my birthday and the festival, the co-op festival on the mall. John Torres is our guest.
Birthday.
Yes.
That's great.
That is great. During the last section, I was looking at REI's webpage. It's rei.coop, and it reminded me I want to walk the Appalachia Trail, at least portion of it. That's something I've just wanted to camp out and do, and I've gone to their store, and they have classes on all that stuff.
That's right.
Which I've been threatening to join. I almost got there. I'm gonna go down and join and start taking some of these classes to be outdoors. And also, I was excited about Black Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, and people go crazy. They come out at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, wait in lines to get that TV or that toy or whatever is major discount, watch, whatever it is. And you said that REI decided to close their doors on the day when everybody else is shopping?
They did. And I'm telling you, the only way you can do that if you are member-owned. If you're a member-owned, that is how that works. Yeah, they had the opportunity then to really make a values-based question. It wasn't profit-driven. It was values-based. And so they said, spend time outdoors with your family. Really pay attention and do the important things in life. And, what a great testament to the way cooperatives work and how important it is to really have that ownership where you get to decide and be a part of that decision of what kind of values your business is going to have. So I did just wanted to throw that out there. That's really one of the hallmarks of cooperative businesses is that user and member control. And that's a big deal. And we're going to be talking about that at the Impact Conference. We're going to be talking about the use of big data. There's a lot of organizations and companies out there that are gleaning data from individuals and gleaning your information to find out your purchasing habits and things that you like and so on. And cooperatives are seen as a way to be able to put the control of that data back into the hands of the individuals. And so that's one of the keynote panels that we're going to have on Thursday over lunch. That's going to be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
Let me make sure I understand this because you piqued my curiosity. So there are companies out there that know my buying habits. They know
That's right.
the foods that I buy, the clothes that I buy. They know I don't buy a lot, but they know what I do buy. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
And in doing that, then they can try to put advertisements together to try to pique my curiosity or get me to spend my money? Is that what?
Yeah. So they use that. So that's for marketing purposes. They're able to use that information there. And then you also have, farmers and large and folks who are in agriculture that have a lot of information that are generated by their farms. And where does that information go? Do people purchase that information? And if it's purchased, how is it used? And so these cooperative members are looking at that and saying, how can I own my own data? How are we able to better use that data to benefit the cooperative itself and become owners and determine who's using that information and how it's being stored and how it's being shared?
All right. So you talked about the 4 tracks. What are some of the other kinds of things that are going on in those tracks? Just take either one of them.
There's a number. So the purchasing group will be doing a lot of best practices and reverse best practices. They're going to be talking about some benchmarking that they'd like to do in order to see the progress of purchasing cooperatives inside that sector. They're going to unpack, and this is something very interesting. And folks, if you have an opportunity to come out and be part of this purchasing track, you will find this interesting. Earlier this year, True Value, who is a purchasing cooperative, their members decided to sell the business to a corporate, and going to be unpacking that True Value hardware case study during the purchasing track on Wednesday, and that's going to be fascinating. And so really getting into the nitty-gritty of how did this happen, where did this emerge from, and what are the things that can be learned out of that.
So Ace Hardware is another purchasing co-op.
A lot of really interesting information coming out of the purchasing track. Over in the professionals, with the accountants and attorneys, of course, they're going to be looking at some new laws that are coming out to make sure that they are all aware of it with co-op tax developments, co-op finance, and so they're going to be looking at those issues, and most of those conversations are going to be taking place on both Wednesday and Thursday there at the Impact Conference. The new tax law and your co-op, how does that affect your co-op? What kind of opportunities are there? What kind of challenges does that present? And so that's going to be part of the professional track there. And then we have Impact 1 and Impact 2, and these two kind of go across the board of cooperatives. And there's things such as redefining financial access. What does that mean to have that financial access, and where do we get it, and what are the new roles that are emerging in that? We also have the building community through measurable impact, which is looking at different ways that communities can be built. You mentioned Flint earlier, and using that, those kinds of models, and saying what could cooperatives do to kind of create that impact there. Workers to owners. That's a very interesting track. I think that's going to be very popular, and that's going to be in the afternoon on Thursday. And the worker to owners, converting to an inclusive shared ownership. We mentioned this a little earlier about the businesses that would go from a family-run or family-owned business or another kind of conversion to worker ownership. And they're going to be unpacking what that means and what that looks like, the history of that and where that's going to be going.
I understand that baby boomers, people like myself that own companies, are looking to retire, and too often they don't have their kids don't want the business, or nobody in their family, and then they can't sell it. Sometimes they just fold up and they just go away.
That's right.
And they have an opportunity, both the owner and the employees, to keep the business in that community by the employees buying it as a co-op.
That's right. And so the statistic is something like 60% of small businesses are owned by baby boomers. And so they're coming of age now where they're ready to retire and to move on to the next phase of the business and of their life. And if you have 60% of the small businesses that are going to be in flux in that way, and folks that are looking, this is definitely a time that cooperatives can really impact that community and keep those jobs local and keep that community stable.
So I guess the question that I would have is, what keeps those employees from buying it? They just don't know about co-ops. That's because one of the best kept secrets, or they can't get the financing, or they don't want to take the risk, or what would keep them from letting it go under?
I think all the things you said are definitely probably on folks' minds and pose some challenges. But I also think it is about not knowing the benefits of the model. the awareness factor of this is something that can be done. This is important for these business owners to realize that there is this option. And once they realize that this is a viable option for them, a lot of these owners of these small businesses think that it's a fantastic idea and are looking to get more information about it.
It seemed like, John, this is the stuff that we talked about, that panel you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And can Small Business Administration, can we get to them so that they could let all of these small businesses know about this option?
Yeah, absolutely. Small Business Administration has been working with cooperatives forever, and I think that because of the certain regulations, it kept some cooperatives from being eligible for certain kinds of loans. But this summer, there was a bill put forth by Senator Gillibrand's office, and she had a number of co-sponsors with her. That was the Main Street Employee Ownership Act. And that is an act that actually opened up and loosened up the regulations there so that more cooperatives and other employee-owned businesses have access to more of the financing, more of the loans that are coming out of the SBA. And so that in itself, when we have legislators who are aware of cooperatives and know the value, then this is the kind of legislation that we see coming out of our federal government. And so,
and this is the work NCBA helps these and advocates help them to understand. I take it.
Absolutely, we worked with our partners, and we worked for a long time to make sure that the right language was put inside that bill that creates that space for cooperatives to thrive. And we're very proud of our efforts, and we're proud of our partners that this was able to get passed in August. And so we're looking forward to hearing these success stories that come out of folks that are eligible now for these financing options.
Okay, you were talking about the impact, and I got you a sideway. What are other kinds of things that you're having there in capital impact on the 3rd, 5th, and 3rd, 4th, and 5th of October?
There's so many things. I mean, if you're a cooperative at heart, this is the place that you need to be next week. And so I encourage everyone to look into that and get out there. You can go to impactconference.coop and read all about the Impact Conference and sign up and register and get out and participate. This is the only conference that does this cross-sector representation of the cooperative movement and the impact that it's having across all the different sectors. And so looking at the schedule, we also have on Friday, we'll be talking about economic participation and self-reliance through cooperatives around the world, and some panel discussions there on some of the development work that's happening through the lens of cooperatives in different countries. And that's on Friday morning. And there are a whole host of folks that are going to be there to talk through this. Some folks from the United States Agency for International Development, some folks from USDA, and others will be there as well. So really get to the heart of cooperative development around the world. It's a packed conference. It is 2.5 days of co-op impact, and it's all kicked off there at the beginning with the state of the cooperative economy. We'll be talking about, in actual numbers, the impact that cooperatives had. We're going to be releasing a new report that talks about the work that's been done leading up to the cooperative or the business census that's going to be coming out in 2020. That'll really give a better picture into how many businesses out there are cooperatives. There's been some work that's been done that'll be presented here at the conference that says there are 64,000 establishments that are cooperatives, and that is a huge uptick from some research that was done about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And so, we see this picking up speed, and we see this picking up momentum. Everyone needs to come out to the Co-op Impact Conference. That is the one-stop shop where you can get all of that information on the impact cooperatives that are having on the country.
We're going to take our final break here, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about impact, and we're going to go to the festival and the mall, which I'm looking forward to, too. We'll be right back.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOF and 95.9 FM.
Information is power. Information is potential power. It's bottled up power. You don't get the power until you put it into action. The National Co-op Bank is sponsoring this program to give you the power, give you the information that you need to know about cooperatives. Going to the Co-op Impact is another way of getting that information in 2.5 days, the first week of October, the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th, and then coming down to the mall for a festival on the mall on Saturday and Sunday, the 6th and the 7th. Get that information, put the information to use by either starting a co-op to solve some community problem that could just be don't have enough jobs, or you dumping trash in the Anacostia River and you want to clean it up. It could be a whole kinds of different things that's going on. You could start a co-op. And, John, there's a co-op, a D.C. co-op stakeholders group that have been coming together for about the last year and a half, and we're looking at creating a D.C. cooperative development center.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. There are 11 of those centers around the country, and they are vital to the cooperative development and getting those starter cooperatives up off the ground and running and stabilized. And having one here in D.C. would do worlds of good for all of the different issues we have here. So I'm looking forward to the work that's being done there.
I want to give a shout out to Councilwoman Anita Bonds, who has created legislation to have a task force to look at the limited equity housing co-ops. We have a lot of them in D.C., and they have problems. So she's wanting to find out what are those problems or challenges of these housing co-ops, because there's a great way of keeping affordable housing in the district. And if you've been around D.C. for any period of time, even the last 10 years, but I've been here for 32, housing that used to be $500 now is like $2,000, $1,500 to $2,000 is what it costs even in Southeast D.C. Costs are going up, but this limited equity co-ops is one way of keeping housing costs down, but got to figure out how to solve some of the problems that they're having. So she's put this task force together, and we had our first meeting. I'm on it representing property managers and looking at how we can solve it. So Anita Bonds, I don't know where she got it from. I may try to get her on the program, where she got excited about limited equity co-ops. So I really want to talk about the festival in the mall. What are other kinds of things that you're having there?
The Credit Union National Association will be there, and they will have some activities that are done that are going to be there talking about financial management and the communities that they serve as credit unions. And we're also going to have Organic Valley, who is celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. And they're going to be there showing folks some of the different products that they have and the work that's done on their farms. They're owned by thousands of farmers, and you'll be able to talk with them and find out their impact. Yeah.
How many, because we only have another minute here, how many different booths will you have up?
So we're going to have 35 booths. We have 39 partners, and this is kind of the gamut from coffee cooperatives, and Divine Chocolate will be there with the cocoa cooperatives that they have and they work with out in Africa. And also there will be Flooring America and Lighting One and Carpet One and a Blue Hawk, which does HVAC. It's the HVAC purchasing cooperative. There are so many different things for folks to really come and enjoy and participate in. There'll be live music throughout the day as well, and a lot of activities. We are on the mall from 11 o'clock Saturday morning to 6 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. And one more programming note, on Saturday at the noon hour, we will be reading the Co-op Month Proclamation, where we establish October as Co-op Month, and so that'll be read there. And so we invite everyone that's in the listening audience to come out, be a part of this fun, family-free event, and enjoy the outdoors and enjoy all of your brands that are cooperatives.
Got to go, John. Thank you so very much. And I'll be out there also taping some of you. Have a great, great week, and we'll see you on the mall or at the Impact Conference, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Washington, D.C.'s News Talk, 1450 AM WOF and 95.9 FM.